Wolfenstein II, The New Colossus. It's the sequel to the much acclaimed Wolfenstein The New Order, and there was a subsequent game after that, Wolfenstein The Old Blood, but this one is a direct follow-up to The New Order. This time Bethesda and Machine Games have brought it to us in 4K Ultra HD, so it should look really nice on your Xbox One X or whatever other platform you use. However, parental units beware, it's rated R18+ for high-impact violence, blood and gore. This is definitely not a game for the kiddies. The story picks up in the aftermath of our hero, BJ Blazkowicz. After killing General Death's Head, your body is ruined, you need quite a bit of rehab. The game does quite a nice previously on sequence where it takes you through what happened in the previous game, so you can see all the various highlights and things like that. So it's not a requirement to have played the first game, but definitely recommended because it's also an excellent game in its own right. The New Colossus returns us to the 1960s, where in this alternate reality the Nazis had won World War II and are now dominating Europe and America. After taking some time to recover from his injuries, BJ is once again pursued by Frau Engel, who has also survived her encounter with him in the previous Wolfenstein, and is now overseeing all of the operations in America to mop up the resistance and ensure their regime lasts forever. Naturally, BJ is back with his crew on board the EOS Hammer, the stolen submarine that they acquired in the previous game, and they're all fighting Engel while trying to assemble the remainder of the resistance in order to foment revolution and have everybody rise back up against the Nazis. This involves traveling to some of the different parts of America, such as New Orleans, Roswell, New Mexico, and New York, attempting to recruit various people or pick up some item of equipment, all the while pursued by Frau Engel and her flying fortress, the Ausmercer. This introduces some new characters, including a sort of foxy Cleopatra-style black woman with a big fro and a mouth like a sailor, who sort of ends up helping to run things. A preacher from New Orleans who gets all hellfire and brimstone on everything, and sort of an alien conspiracy theorist type person from Roswell, New Mexico. Another quite interesting character is Frau Engel's daughter, who gets taken in by Blazkowicz, and her story is quite interesting in that she's not liked by her mother. She's seen as fat and weak and a bit useless, but she also experiences a fair bit of dislike from some of the other members of Blazkowicz's crew as well, who see her as a Nazi and can't sort of see past that. So it's quite interesting to see the different perspectives and how that works itself out. As always, it's easy to hate the Nazis in Wolfenstein. They are clearly despicable, evil human beings, but what is quite interesting is the rise of evil, fascism, and some of the more despicable traits of other members of the human race, particularly people like the KKK, people that have just given up and have started turning over family members, for instance, to the regime, and whatever they need to do to get by to avoid the hateful glare of the Nazi regime coming down upon them. There's quite a lot of backstory regarding BJ Blazkowicz and his early life with his parents that features in the story, and shows that some of these evil sorts of things, such as spousal abuse and hatred of the Jews and things like that, was already there long before the Nazis came into being. And I guess the rise of the regime is just given way to allowing this in a more tacit sort of way. This is obviously quite relevant today with the sort of rise of the right, the sort of resurgence of fascism as it attempts to move back into the mainstream again, some of these hate groups and things that are coming to the foreground, and I guess it has some interesting things to say about it that we perhaps should consider. It's certainly important that everybody fights back against this sort of evil wherever it occurs, but at the same time making sure that we don't slip into the same kind of evilness as the Nazis and some of these various supporting groups in this game have done. As with previous installments, the game plays really well. It's quite fast and frenetic, although you can play it in a more stealth-based approach if you want to try and sneak up and kill the commander to prevent him from setting the alarms off. You can certainly try to do that. The AI is quite good. Some of the guards and things like that will pick up on you pretty easily sometimes, and it's quite hard to take them down. The new throwing axe is a nice mechanic, so that you can take them out from a distance as well. Although later on you can unlock modifications and things to your guns, and things like the silencer on the pistol is quite handy to have as well. Sometimes though you do get caught and you've just got to take them on with all the firepower you've got. Fortunately you have access to all of the guns that you're carrying at any time. Ammunition never really seems to be a huge problem. There's certainly plenty of stock around the place, but the game can be quite hard. You're certainly not a bullet sponge, you're not invulnerable. You can pick up extra armor and things like that, but sometimes some of the enemies will wreck you pretty quickly if you're not careful. So a stealth approach is certainly recommended if you can get away with it. But if the alarm gets triggered off, you need to find those commanders as quick as you can and take them out to silence that alarm. Otherwise, waves after waves of nasty death will continue pursuing you until you're eventually killed. There are various weapons upgrades that you can choose from. These are only unlocked by finding a weapons upgrade package. I haven't found too many of those, but by the end it should be possible to have a few of the guns reasonably tuned up. Depending on which major character you opt to save at the beginning, depends on which gun you'll get access to. I saved the Mad Scotsman, so I had the laser craftwork, which was quite handy. I should definitely have to try going back and playing with Wyatt to see what other option I think you get. I believe it's a grenade launcher or a rocket launcher or something like that, so that might be fun to check out. There are also a number of mods that you can apply to your character as well, and these are basically unlocked by completing challenges. So sort of the more stealth kills you get, you might get a stealth kill bonus that helps you. One thing that is quite helpful though is the variable difficulty. So you can start off on Hurt Me Plenty, but if you get to a section that's too difficult, it is possible to just go into the settings and turn it down, turn it back up again, turn it to something harder if you find it too easy. It really just lets you play the way you want to play, which is good because some areas are extremely difficult. There's a few sections with a lot of very tough, very large enemies that will certainly challenge most people. So it's good to have some flexibility there so that the game doesn't, cripplingly prevent you from being able to play it through. There are various collectibles and things that you can hunt for during the levels as well. There's gold, as in the previous one, that's hidden away. There are collectible cards called star cards. There's death cards you get for killing enemy commanders. There's enigma codes which have to be decoded in a short mini-game on the sub, and they help you to unlock side quests to go and kill enemy commanders. There's Max Haas toys I think you have to collect as well. There's a few things to keep you busy. It'll keep you hunting things. They're certainly not always easy to spot, and many of the time I've really had to go through a room to find a piece of concept art or a star card or something like that that's concealed. There's quite a variety of locations as well that you visit during the story. I'm really stepping around what they are because I don't want to spoil any of the surprises for you, but there are some really cool surprises during the game, a few aha moments. And yeah, just some really interesting environments and things like that introduce new mechanics and things like that. I think you'll really enjoy them, so I'm not going to spoil any of those here for you. One of the things that's a little curious is there's a thing on there called the Vault, which is showing a countdown at the moment. I believe mine currently says 5 days, I think. But I think what happened is in 5 days it will unlock access to the DLC. Now, from what I understand, the Season Pass has 3 DLC packs, which will allow you to step into playing different aspects of Resistance members in different locations that are acting out the Resistance, which I guess is where the game sort of leaves off. So that's interesting. I guess we'll see what that's like. I'll do another review when the DLC becomes available. I do want to address, some people have complained that the ending felt a little underwhelming. Um, it is satisfying, but at the same time, it did just sort of end. And I feel as if part of that might be because the end of the game or the rest of the game has been kind of chopped off for the DLC. Um, it's not an uncommon complaint with games, so uh, I don't know. I guess we'll have to see what the DLC is like. I personally don't have a problem with paying for more story. That's fine as long as it's not pay to play or mods or any of that sort of carry on that gives you a significant advantage. But more story will be good. So I really love the story this far. I'm really looking to see how it's going to play out. I'm certainly hoping there'll be a third one. It's a fantastic game. I really think you should check it out. Um, this game is definitely the poster child for why single-player games have a place. Not everything has to be multiplayer. In fact, I actually prefer not playing multiplayer all that much. It's just really refreshing to play a game with a really good story, really good characters you get involved into. It has something to say. It's exciting. There's some really exciting moments in the game as well. It's a real thrill. Yeah, check it out. I'm going to give Wolfenstein II, the new Colossus, a solid 9. I'm not going to give it a 10, primarily because there's a couple of little niggles. I did have a couple of freezes and crashes, which I'm hoping they'll get addressed. Overall, they weren't bad, but it did happen a couple of times. So anyway, I highly recommend it. I'm going to replay it again now and see if I can get Wyatt and try and finish up some of the side quests and things. I suggest you check it out.